In today's show, the NBA draft is in the books. We're going to recap it. We're only going to do 10 teams. We're going to do this over 3 different shows so I don't short shrift anybody. We're going to do the Atlantic Division. We're going to do the Southeast Division. And we're going to talk about what the Charlotte Hornets did at pick number 2. Was it a mistake? Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_Beeble, on TikTok at redrock_Beeble, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Thank you to everyone who was a part of the live draft show yesterday. Sorry about the software crashing at pick 34. We did come back and record the second part of it, but the numbers smashed what we did last year, so really, really proud of having everyone in there for that show. Now, the show is going to be a little bit, I don't know if weird is the right term here for the next 3 to 4 weeks, because I am headed over to Vegas for Summer League, and I'm not going to be recording shows while I'm there. So we're going to be doing some heaps of shows, but there's going to be a period where there is, not now, because Vegas hasn't started, but there's going to be a period where there are some pre-recorded shows that do happen through that Summer League, and then when I get back from Vegas, then we'll do the recap of Summer League. So just be aware that even the release schedule might be a little bit different over the next couple of weeks to try and make sure everything gets fit in. What is coming this week? 3 NBA draft recap shows. Atlantic and Southeast Division today. We will probably do the Central Division and the Southwest Division tomorrow, and then we'll do Pacific and Northwest the day after. And we'll also do a Dynasty rankings for rookies. I'll have that, working out all of those formats for points leagues and for category leagues. And then there'll be a Dynasty sleeper type video, maybe even a Dynasty rookie mock draft coming this week. That is all on the schedule for the upcoming week. And then we roll into free agency. We look at free agency. We do some Summer League preview stuffs. And then I head away for a bit. Let me come back. But we are here to talk about the NBA draft from yesterday. Not as many deals as we thought might happen, but that always seems to be the way it's trending. Deals before the draft, there'll be deals after the draft. Now we sit in to find out what actually happened with these teams. I'm not going to give grades necessarily, but you'll be able to hear what the reason I'm not going to give grades is I don't really know how to grade it, right? I have tried in the past and never really worked the way that I wanted it to work. So I'm just going to give sort of thoughts and opinions on how these teams did and what it means for the team and where it goes and all that sort of stuff. I've got 10 teams to cover. I'm waffling. Warnie.
Let's get it on, Gilly.
All right, let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks. I said we're doing the, We're doing the Southeast Division and the Atlantic Division. Yes, that is what we're doing today. So we're going to start with the Atlanta Hawks, who had pick 15. They did make a trade in this draft as well to get pick 39, but they had pick 15. They took Kobe Buffkin at 15. The numbers, if you are watching this on YouTube, by the way, Buffkin, elite fashion work from him. Suit, no shirt, big chains. Love it. Love the look. I'm thinking of actually probably wearing that myself to Summer League. That's not true. I'm wearing someone else's suit to Summer League. Kobe Buffkin at number 15. I had him at 11. I think it's really good value. Now, where does Buffkin fit on this team currently? Because they have Trae Young. They have DeJounte Murray. They have DeAndre Hunter. Not for long. They have AJ Griffin. So, if we're looking at what Buffkin does this upcoming season, I don't think it's going to be huge. But I do not believe that the DeJounte Murray, Trae Young pairing is a long-term thing for this squad. I don't think Trae's getting moved. DeJounte might. It might not be this year. But I think the idea is for either a DeJounte Buffkin pairing or a Trae Buffkin pairing with Griffin playing the 3. So, I like the pick. It's value for me to get Buffkin at 15. It doesn't move the needle huge amounts. It gives them an upgrade over Aaron Holiday, or who would they run? Trent Forrest as a backup guard. Definitely. And obviously you've got Bogdanovic there as well. With his injury concerns, who knows where he ends up, and he's on the wrong side of 30. So it is going to be I would say a subdued rookie season for Buffkin, but I like the pick. I think he's got strong upside as well. They had 2 second rounders. One of them was a trade with the Boston Celtics, one of their 10 million trades, the Celtics. They picked at number 39, Mohamed Gay from Washington State. I had Gay as an undraftable player. Not undraftable, but an undrafted player. 65, I had him ranked. I worry about defense. I worry about inefficiency as a big man on offense. He can score a little bit, for sure. But with John Collins, Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella, and Onyeka Okongwu currently there, he is not going to do anything. I don't know that he ever can become a starter. He can be one of those interesting guys. Best case scenario, Precious Achiuwa, Montrezl Harrell, absolute best case. Now, Gay is bigger than that and could have a little bit more passing upside than what Harrell does, but I don't particularly rate him. And then at 46, they took Seth Lundy, who I had at 45. So that's right about where it needs to be. Just a strong veteran, small forward, shooting guard. Veteran, he's 23, that's what I mean. He's an older player, really strong shooter. Again, just giving a little bit of extra depth there with Bogdanovic aging, with Hunter maybe moving on, with Trent Forrest and Aaron Holiday, not the guys that you want to feel particularly comfortable relying upon. So Lundy might actually end up being on a two-way. We haven't heard that yet. We haven't heard which players that were drafted are going to end up on two-way deals or anything along those lines. Oh, they've also got Sadiq Bey there as well. So Lundy's probably not going to do a huge amount. They also picked up and have signed to a two-way Miles Norris, who I didn't even have ranked in my top 116. That's fine. He's from UC Santa Barbara, a big man. They also have signed Jarkel Joyner and David Singleton to Exhibit 10 deals. Not anything that I need to worry too much about with those guys. I don't think they'll just be on the camp and then maybe they end up on the G League team. That's what Exhibit 10 gives you, the G League rights to someone if you end up waiving them, but they become like they're undrafted free agents. A little bit different to the Summer League deal. So you'll see 3 different ways here that we look at the undrafted guys. Two-way deals, Exhibit 10 deals, or Summer League deals. The two-way is a two-way. There's 3 of those per team this season. Exhibit 10 is basically you're part of the 20-man roster, and when you get cut, your G League team gets rights to that player, and Summer League is just you're on the Summer League team, and then you get that evaluation, and they can take you on as an Exhibit 10 or whatever it is from there. That's my understanding of how those contracts work. So that's the haul the Hawks brought in. They might bring some other guys in over the next couple of days, but all I've got at the moment is Bufkin, Gay, Lundy, Norris. I don't want to say Gay because his name is not Gay. It's Mo Gay. Norris, Joyner, and Singleton. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time that you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com.
Broncos country, let's ride.
eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to US customers, eligible items only, and exclusions apply. Okay, that's the Atlanta Hawks. Let's move to another team in the Southeast Division, and let's look at the Charlotte Hornets. Is this a generational mistake? Is this a very good draft class? I don't know. I don't know. But you tune into this show to hear me give an opinion. I'm not hating on a 20-year-old. I'm not going to be looking foolish. Maybe I will. I always look foolish. I'm not going to be looking for, you're going to look so dumb in 5 years' time when this guy's multiple. Maybe. But I have to give an opinion. I can't just sit here and go, well, I guess the team knows what they're doing. All right, well, that's how it is. The team knows what they're doing. Because I'm not going to do that. So I am going to tell you what I think. I would never in a million years have taken Brandon Miller at number 2. I just wouldn't have done it. Could he end up being the number 2 player in this draft class? Very easily. Could he be the 6th best player in this draft class? Easily. Could he be the 3rd best player in this Hornets draft class? Easily. Draft stuff goes weird all the time. A 6'9" shooter out of Alabama. The Mitch Kupchak press conference is an all-time what are you talking about moment after the draft. Just no confidence inspired there at all. It is completely unfair to Brandon Miller to boo him or to hate on him. If you're the Hornets, you can be annoyed, but it's done. You've got him. This is who you deal with now. Like, you have got him. Your team has made that mistake, in my opinion, to compound other mistakes they have made in the past. But maybe it's not a mistake. Maybe he is this good. I have concerns with his athleticism, with his finishing ability at the rim. The shooting was really good, but he struggled against better teams a lot. And is he a good defender or not? He's an okay defender, but is he a good passer? He's an okay passer. Like, I don't know. If he's not a 40% three-point shooter, I don't think he's anything more than a role player. He's an okay passer, okay defender, okay scorer, not a 30 usage guy, I don't believe. How they run this with this team, there's still big question marks because PJ Washington and Miles Bridges are sitting out there. I don't know if they return. Because Gordon Hayward is still on this team, Terry Rozier is still there, LaMelo Ball is there. So you'd imagine Ball, Rozier will start, Mark Williams will start at center, and then the other spots is where it gets a little bit interesting.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Was Miller start over Hayward? Probably. Cody Martin's still there as well. Is Hayward going to be moved? Is Bridges going to come back? Is Washington going to come back? I would think Miller would start. He'll be pretty strong. He won't be the number one usage player in this team. And if Miles Bridges is back, he'll be the third usage player, maybe fourth behind Terry Rozier. So he's going to get overdrafted in redraft leagues. Dynasty leagues, I don't think he's the number 2 guy. I just think it was a mistake to take Brandon Miller at 2. But again, it's what's happened. He's got an opportunity here to be a very good player for a very long time. And that's what I think he will be. I think this draft is really strong. So even though I did have Brandon Miller at 6, that's not to say that I think that he's bad. Because I think 6 in this draft class is 3 in most other years. Like, would Brandon Miller be ahead of Jabari Smith last year? Probably to me, yeah. I would have had him above Jabari Smith, I think, and I had Smith at 3. So it's not bad, but I just wouldn't have done it. Now we get to the other ones. Nick Smith Jr. at number 27. I had him 26th. Love it. I don't know what Smith's going to do. I suppose it's a risk when you don't want to take the ball out of LaMelo Ball's hand, so you grab another point guard / shooting guard. Of course, there is sarcasm there. I hope you understand that. I think taking that flyer on Nick Smith makes tons of sense. Tons of it. Interesting they took an Alabama and an Arkansas player, both Southeast sort of guys, SEC players, early on. Don't know if there's anything with that or not. Did the Hornets not scout outside their area? That's not true, but that's interesting. I love the pick of Smith there. I think there are other guys I probably would have taken ahead of him, like Leonard Miller, who was still on the board at that point, but I love taking that flyer. Rozier is not going to be there forever. Can Smith work with LaMelo? Yeah, the same way that Scoot could work with LaMelo if Smith hits. So I love this pick. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it might not take that long. Honestly, it might not take that long. James Najee at 31. I had Najee at 25 on my board. I like it for a couple of things. I think Najee's good. I think Najee could develop into the next low-usage, big European, Clint Capella. Not Rudy Gobert, that's generational defense. But Clint Capella is a great example of, now they're different players. Najee's 7 foot. Capella's tall, he's not 7 foot. But Najee's jacked, but he's a low offense, good defense guy. He's very young. I don't even know if he comes over first year. I don't understand trading up to take your backup to Mark Williams, who you just drafted last season. And you've already got Nick Richards there. I wouldn't have said center or backup center was a position of need. No problem with getting in talent. And if he was still available at 34, Najee would have grabbed him and had no worries. I just don't know that trading up for that player made the most sense. That's my only real knock on it. Love the player, love the value, love the pick. Don't know that this team needed to trade up when you've got a second and third year center already there. Now, Nick Richards isn't much, and Najee's probably going to be better than him in a few years, but Najee's probably your third stringer at the moment. And then Amari Bailey at 41. I had Amari Bailey by the end of things at 28. Just another guard to take the ball out of LaMelo's hands. Bailey didn't get to show everything at UCLA. I love him at 41. I just think taking these flyers, again, is it Smith or is it Bailey that might end up taking over from Terry Rozier? But I tell you what it means, they have no confidence in Jim Bouknight. None. They took 2 guys who are basically James Bouknight. So that's that. I like, overall, love the Smith pick at that value, love the Bailey pick, love the Najee pick, although the process isn't what I loved the most there. Miller I don't like as a pick because of the value and who was on the board, but overall he's a good player. As a two-way, they signed Leaky Black, who absolutely number 1 in names in this draft, elite name, elite defender as well. And we've seen them take these defensive sort of players, Cody Martin, and turn them, although Cody Martin was a second-round pick, it turned them into useful NBA guys. So I'm keeping an eye on Leaky Black. I had him ranked 86th on my board. Remember, there's going to be probably 100, 120 guys out of this draft class end up on rosters. The 58 drafted guys, maybe you don't get 60. We got 90 two-way spots available, so maybe 60 two-way spots go to guys from this draft class, and then another 30 from other spots. I don't know. You're going to have a lot of players go. So 86 is not bad there for Leaky. Nathan Mensah, I didn't have him ranked, but he was a guy that I looked at a couple of times. Who should I rank him? Angelo Allegri, I didn't have him ranked at all. He's not someone I considered. But Nathan Mensah, not a bad option. But I like them getting Leaky Black from UNC on there as a two-way. Let's go to the Miami Heat. A couple of things to talk about with the Heat. They had one draft pick, and they took Jaime Jaquez Jr., who I had at 37. Now, Jaquez is, as you can see, incredibly sexy. Just looks, he fits Miami perfectly in that regard, looks-wise. Now, I see a lot of people say, man, it's just the perfect Heat pick. It's just what the Heat do. What does that mean, right? People say that, and again, it's, you know the thing that I'm going to bang on about, confirmation biases and things like that. Did people say that when they took Nikola Jovic last season? Is that a Heat pick? Did they say it when they took Tyler Hero 3 years ago? Oh, Heat culture, Tyler Hero. Is that what we did? No, we didn't. Because we only look at the picks when it seems to make sense to our narrative and go, that's what they do. We knew they were going to do it. They were definitely going to do it. Whereas last year they took Nikola Jovic, who's just not that player, not that guy at all. Not remotely close to a Heat culture player. So just always remember that, okay? Jaquez apparently was dominating one-on-one workouts, which to me, one-on-one workouts are such a weird way of evaluating players for a draft. How many one-on-one games are there in the NBA? 0. It's a weird scenario. You have got tape. Jaquez, you've got 4 years of him playing at UCLA. 3 of those as a starter. I've seen him play in all these situations, but he came in one-on-one and beat these guys. Cool. That's great when we go down and you see him out on the courts outside playing pickup in a one-on-one. Jaquez is a smart player. He is a strong player. He's a good role player. I wouldn't have taken him at 18. If the Heat had pick 28, no problem. And I guess the Heat were operating as if they were at pick 28, given they made the conference finals. Sorry, the NBA finals. I just think that there's very little... I know Jaquez can't shoot, can defend, hustles, scrappy, all that sort of stuff. Sure, awesome. I just didn't love the pick. I just thought there were much better players available on the board at that spot. Dariq Whitehead, Brandon Podziemski, Leonard Miller. So many players who I thought were better than what Jaquez could produce. Love him for the Heat. He's a solid player. He's a very solid role player. Just don't like the value there. In terms of undrafted guys, they have just, and they always do this, they just go sick early on and go, we're grabbing 1 million players for our summer league team. They grabbed helmet legend Caleb Daniels on an Exhibit 10. I didn't have him ranked. They grabbed Drew Peterson from USC on an Exhibit 10. I had him 105. Yeah, look, he's fine. And then a bunch of summer league players on their summer league team. Trenton Masner, I didn't have him ranked. Taylor Funk, I had at 109. Patrick Gardner from Marist, he's a very interesting player. If I had to look at all of these unranked, all these Heat undrafteds, it's him, Patrick Gardner, and Justin Powell from Washington State, who I had actually 76th. They're the two I look at. Patrick Gardner and Justin Powell. They also got Javon Franklin and Chase. I don't even know how to say this guy. Udije? I don't know how to say that guy's name. I had him 90th, but I didn't know how to say his name. So I had Chase Udije there at 90. So that's their team. Well, that's who they grabbed through there in the NBA draft. Let's go to are they even ours anymore? I don't know. The Orlando Magic, who at pick number 6 took Anthony Black.
Mr. Black.
I hated what they did in the draft. I could be very wrong. I could be very right. I could be somewhere in between. I don't know. I think that a non-shooting point guard, when you've already got 2 non-shooting point guards on the team, Jalen Suggs and Markelle Fultz, and maybe they don't have faith in those guys. Oh, I think Fultz is probably a top 20 point guard in the NBA at the moment. I just don't get it. A lot of people love Anthony Black. I don't. I had him 14th on my board. It's not that I don't love him. I think he's a solid player. I think he's got a chance to be okay. But at pick 6, there were much better options. Now, they were in a stinking position, I think. Because I reckon they did want some guards. Was it too early to take Kaysen Wallace? Well, I would have taken Kaysen over Anthony Black. I would have loved for them to get Asar Thompson. But that option wasn't available. They couldn't get Scoot. He was gone. So they took Anthony Black. So they are in a position with Paolo, with Franz, where they could draft a little bit for need. But I don't think that Anthony Black is need for them. I don't think that is he going to have a better career than Markel Fultz? I don't know. Fultz struggled so much early on, but he's actually really good now. Suggs, who knows? They've given up on him after 2 years? I'm not sure. Can Black play off ball? I don't think so. Is he a better passer than Fultz? I don't think so. Is he a better defender than Fultz? Maybe, but maybe not. I just don't understand it. And that's partly because I just didn't rank Black that high heading into the draft. So there's plenty of guys that I would have had ahead of him here. Like 7. How many? No. 9 of them. I had a lot of guys ahead of him. He gives a lot of Dante Exum, Alfred Payton-ish sort of vibes. These taller point guards who can defend, but what do you do with the shooting? And Payton was a very good passer. He probably is a better passer than what Anthony Black was. He's still young. He's got good size. Very small wingspan. He's like a +1. There's a 6'6", 6'7" with a 6'7", 6'8" wingspan. It's not very good. And he defended well, but his team was unbelievable defensively. They had Jordan Walsh. And I talked about this with, I think, Matt Powers the other day, was the fact that they had Jordan Walsh on the perimeter, allowing Anthony Black to be a better help sort of defender, knowing Walsh was around. Maybe. We'll see. I just didn't like it, but it's still the best one of their draft picks. Because then at pick 11, they took Jet Howard, who I had 23rd. Now, again, they were drafting specifically for need. And Howard can shoot. And he is tall. He's taller than the other shooters who were potentially available there. Sensabaugh, not potentially, definitely were available. Sensabaugh, Dick, and Hawkins. He's taller than them. And we know that the Magic love that. But I don't know what else Jet Howard can do. How do they fit this roster in? Franz, Paolo, Wendell, they're going to start. Then you've got Fultz, and then you've got Suggs, and then you've got Black, and then you've got Howard. And is Jonathan Isaac going to be on this team? I don't think so. Howard is young, he's tallish, he can shoot, but I don't know what else he can do. Maybe he can do more offensively upside-wise, but I just think this is a need pick when there were 3 other guys I think better than him. Maybe not Hawkins. I would have had Howard over Hawkins, but I would have had Dick, Sensabaugh, and Whitehead ahead of Howard for this role. If that's what you wanted to grab as a shooter. I just think it's probably the most baffling pick of the first round. The most baffling situation was Cam Whitmore, but the most baffling pick of the first round was Jet Howard. And I hope it works out for him. I just don't like it. They also grabbed Dexter Dennis, who I didn't have ranked for their Summer League team. Let's go to the Washington Wizards. They traded up from 8 to 7. I don't think there was any need for that at all. The Pacers weren't taking Bilal at 7, but they traded up from 8 to 7. Whatever, it didn't cost them a huge amount. Still weird. And they got Bilal Coulibaly, who I had 19 on my board. Now, I sort of went back and forward between about 13 to 19 with Bilal recently. Elite athlete, great size, huge wingspan, huge pogo stick leap, ability to defend, pass, putbacks. Not sure how he can shoot. He will probably fit next to Jordan Poole, next to Tyus Jones. I don't know what... There's a lot to happen with the Wizards because Monte Morris, what the hell is he going to do? Dillon Wright? What do you do with Kispert? What do you do with Avdia? Someone between Kispert and Bilal is not going to have that huge role. Bilal, can he ever be a number 1 offensive option? Well, with Jordan Poole on the team, definitely not. But no, I don't think he can. His best case scenario is 3rd offensive option, I think. He's got some ability, for sure. Like, he can have some more offensive ability. But I wouldn't have taken him at number 7. I don't hate it. Like, I'm not against this pick for the Wizards necessarily. I think it makes a little bit of sense to pair with Jordan Poole. I just don't really know, like a non-shooter sort of a player next to Denny Avdia. If they're your 3 and 4 of the future, look, do they think Bilal can play the 4 and Avdia is out of there? I don't know. They're your 3 and 4 of Coulibaly and Avdia. your shooting's in real trouble. Your passing and your defense is very good for those positions, very much above average, I think. But I'm not sure the shooting is going to cut it. And then it's where you get Kispert in, and can Kispert and Calabali play together? I don't know. Along with Poole. Or do you make Poole your point guard and have Poole, Kispert, Calabali, Avdia, and Jones is just a 1-year stopgap rental player? That's possible too. So I don't mind the Calabali pick. I'm not that into it there at that point. At 42, Tristan Vukcevic, who I had 36th on my board, elite shooter. This makes sense to me. I don't think he can be a full-time starting center because I think his defense is going to be a real problem. I think he's probably more of a 4, like much worse defender than Porzingis, for example. He's not going to challenge Dan Gafford or anything this season. Whether Vukcevic even comes across, I think he probably does. I think he's got a chance to develop into a starter the way that they had Davis Bertans as like a starter level player for a couple of years. I know that's a lazy comparison. Tall, white, European elite shooter. But that's literally what both of them are, who can get cooked defensively. That's what they both are. So I like the Vukcevic pick. I know he's 7 foot. I don't think he's a center. He can work alongside a Gafford. There's upside in that. That's a good pick. Their summer league guy was Asuniye. I think I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. And I didn't have him ranked anywhere at all. That's the Southeast done. I could have almost broken this into one division per. Should I do it? No, let's go through. Let's look at the Atlantic Division. We're going to go to Boston, who made so many trades that I don't even know where to come out of it. In the end, after trading away or getting into pick 25 as part of the Marcus Smart deal and dealing that back for seconds and then dealing that second for another second and for another 2 seconds for more seconds, I think they ended up with 3 future seconds and only 1 pick in this draft, and it was Jordan Walsh from Arkansas. I had him 39th on my board. He went 38th. Very good defender. Can't shoot. Very good defender. But in terms of that Celtics team, which seems to have a lot of guards, well, less so now with no Marcus Smart, a lot of bigs with Williams, Horford, and Porzingis. The only real sort of wing guys they have are Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So there is actually a path for some rotation minutes early on for Jordan Walsh. He won't have to do a huge amount. He's not going to ever be asked to do anything offensively, I wouldn't have thought. But behind those other guys, I'm just looking at their roster. Do they have any other? No, they don't have any other wings. It's guards and forwards. So it's Brown and Tatum, and then it's Walsh. Don't be surprised if he's playing 15 to 20 minutes a night early on, if the defense holds up. The offense is going to be bad. They also brought in Vincent Valerio Bodon, Hungarian wing/forward, who I had 60th. I thought he might get drafted. They bring him into Summer League. I think he's an interesting player for them to develop. They've got a couple of other guys they might bring across, like Yamada and Yuhan Bagarin. I think Bagarin is a guy who's got a chance to make the roster this season for Boston. But overall, weird maneuvers, constant weird maneuvers, trading back from 25 to 31 to 34 to 38, I think is what they did. Jordan Walsh is a pretty good pick, though, at that spot. And he's maybe going to get some rotation minutes. Maybe. Let's go to the Nets. They, at this point, haven't signed any two-ways or any summer leagues or any Exhibit 10s. I've got no record. I'm going to go double-check that now. But I see no record of them bringing any players in as undrafted guys just yet. But they did make 3 picks in the draft. And I like them all. 21, Noah Clowney. I had him as a lottery player. He's 18. He is a power forward / center. I don't know whether Nick Claxton is going to be a long-term member of this team. That's not to say Claxton's not good, but in terms of do they rebuild what they do. But Clowney, I think, has got some offensive upside to develop. He is a guy that can easily play the 4 and the 5, and at the moment their 4s are all 3s. It's Finney Smith and Royce O'Neal, and they're obviously not long for this team, I don't think. Cam Johnson is there as well, and a Cam Johnson-Noah Clowney combination works. I just think getting Clowney at 21 represents amazing value. It helps in terms of 2-3 years is when he really starts to kick on. Switchy defender, rim protector. I love it. I love that pick of Clowney. I also like the Pimple at 22. I had Derek Whitehead at 18. They got him at 22. 6'6" wing. Shot 42%, I think, from 3 at Duke last season. The second foot surgery is a problem. He's not going to play in Summer League. He might be ready for the start of the season, but they know they've dealt with Brook Lopez's foot. They've dealt with Karis LeVert's foot, and they got both of those guys back to full health. And the same doctor that did those surgeries, I believe, did Whitehead's second surgery. That's the Nets team doctor. So I don't really have my fear with Whitehead was the foot injury. Going to the Nets reduces that fear pretty significantly. I think that he has got legitimate number one offensive guy upside. Now, it's probably a 2% chance of hitting that upside, but not many guys, like Jaime Jaquez, drafted a few picks before that, is never going to be that player. He will never be a number one or number two offensive guy, in my opinion. Dariq Whitehead probably isn't, and the foot is still a concern, but a shooter who I think's got defensive tools, I think's got offensive usage upside, and with a little bit of passing in there, I love this pick. I love taking these swings on these guys who, honestly, Whitehead without the injury would have been lottery for me. Clowney was lottery for me. I love it. I love what they did. At 51, an older player, Jalen Wilson out of Kansas. I had him 53rd. My problem with Wilson is that all the stuff that he was able to do at Kansas was because he just had gigantic usage and showed no real ability to scale back a role, and he's going to need to do that 100% in the NBA. Now, he can stick around really easily as a role player. They might even give him, I don't know if they'll give him a two-way here or not, or whether they use him on a full roster spot. I think that he's probably good enough to get a full roster spot, but there are other guys on this roster still, like Joe Harris, Finney Smith, obviously Mikal Bridges, Royce O'Neal, Edmund Sumner, who's in a similar position there, Cam Thomas, Ben Simmons, a lot of different guys. I don't think he's going to have an impact immediately, but probably good enough to get more than a two-way, with a little bit of role-playing upside if he buys in. The Knicks, well, they didn't have a single draft pick, but they have filled two of their two-way spots already. One of them was Jalen Martin from Overtime Elite, who I had 80th, and the other one was Jacob Toppin, who I had 88th from Kentucky. That's Obi Toppin's brother. Now, did they bring Jacob Toppin in because Obi Toppin was there and because he's a CAA client? Almost 100% yes. Why that would happen after Obi Toppin seems completely frustrated with this organization and not giving an opportunity, I have no idea. I don't know what the hell is going to happen with Toppin, but the fact that you have a top 10 pick who showed some flashes and you never give him an opportunity is very, very weird. Jacob Toppin's not as good as Obi. He played for Kentucky. I think he deserved a two-way opportunity for sure. I don't really know when he's going to play on this team behind Sims and Robinson. Why did I say Sims first? I have no idea. Behind Robinson, Hartenstein, Sims, Randall, and his brother, never will play, and the Knicks will never use their two-way. Trevor Keels played about 2 minutes last year as a two-way guy, and then got cut and then re-signed. So they're just never going to play. Jalen Martin, also a very interesting defensive-minded guard as well from Overtime Elite. So good work on both of those two-way guys. I like those picks. The 76ers, much like the Knicks, didn't have a draft pick either. But I thought they dominated. They dominated the undrafted process because they've signed their 3 two-ways already. One of them was Terquavion Smith, a guy that probably would have been a top 20 pick in last year's draft. Went back to school, had some really efficiency issues. I had him 35th. They got him on a two-way. Now, on this team, who knows where he plays, but there's Shake Milton. Is he going to be around? I think Turk can really, really develop into maybe not a starter, but a reserve bench player who easily graduates off a two-way. I love that for them. Ricky Council IV, who I found out from Brian Schroeder yesterday, who tweeted this out, that Ricky Council is Ricky Council IV. His dad is Ricky Council. He's Ricky Council IV because his brothers are Ricky Council II and Ricky Council III, which is honestly insane. Imagine having 2 brothers and you're all called Ricky. Hey, Ricky. What do they just call each other? 2, 3, and 4? Or they got some other nicknames like here's Slider, here's like Pooh Bag, and here's Banana. Like, is that what it is? Like the George Foreman's kids? Here's George the 9th. We call him Dick Cheese. Anyway, I don't know that Ricky Council's called Banana, but he is Ricky Council IV. I had him 49th. They got him on a two-way. His shooting is just, it's not there. But as a super athletic rim finisher with defensive tools, I love Daryl bringing him in. And then the other one was Azuolas Tubelis, who I had 72nd on a two-way, a big man from Arizona who hasn't really developed a shot, but just getting someone else in there in the vein of a Charles Bassey or even a Paul Reed. I think they've hit on another interesting backup big. I love those 3 two-ways. Absolutely killed the undrafted market so far. The other team that I think did really well there was the Lakers. And then on an Exhibit 10, they brought in Marcus Bagley. Yes, that is Marvin's brother, who played like 2 games for Arizona State this year. Could have possibly been a draftable guy last year, but had injuries. He's much like his brother. Injury prone, shorter than Marvin. I don't think he's an NBA player. He'll get an opportunity. He'll go play with Delaware, I'm guessing. And yeah, I don't see. It's not bad. I had him 111th, Marcus. It's not bad. I don't know why I've got a picture of Anthony Black still on that screen, because I definitely shouldn't. Yeah, that's weird. Anyway, I shouldn't have Anthony Black there because he doesn't play for this team. But getting Bagley in there it's okay. It's okay. I wouldn't say it's awesome, but it's okay. Let's go to the last team. Let's go to Jacobine Magatu Jr. Let's go to the Prestige Penis. Let's go to S-tier Schlong, Grade A Dick, the big fella, BJ himself, Grady Dick. The Raptors took him at 13. I had him at 20. I don't actually hate it that much. Again, there are other players I would have taken there if I was Toronto. That wasn't Dick. I just think Dick should have lasted a little bit longer. You can make the argument he's the best shooter. You can make the argument he's the 5th best shooter in this class. That's all possible. There's a lot of good shooters. Brandon Miller, good shooter. Jett Howard, good shooter. Bryce Sensabaugh, good shooter. Derek Whitehead, good shooter. Grady Dick, good shooter. Excellent shooter, in fact. They're all excellent shooters. Dick is extraordinarily weird, which I love. That suit is insanity. It's literally one of the craziest things I've ever seen. That's what I'm going to wear to Vegas. The glasses make it look even funnier. The Raptors need shooting, and Nick Nurse isn't there anymore, so we don't have to worry about the bench players playing 5 minutes. He's not going to start, I would guess. But I don't know what they do. What happens if Van Vliet does go? Is Barnes their full-time point guard? And it's Barnes, Trent, Siakam, OG, and Poeltl? I guess so, yeah. And then Dick is the 6th man playing 23, 24 minutes. My worry with him is he's not a bad rebounder, but can you ever get steals? Probably not. Steals, blocks, free throw attempts, high field goal percentage, rebounds or assists enough to matter in fantasy? And I say probably not. I do think there were better. And again, like the Magic, they needed shooting. So I'm not going to completely kill them for this. And Trent, yes, he's opted in. He will be there, but he might get traded. He might leave after this season. I don't know. Or they might extend him. I think there is a path for Dick being a starter on this team in 3 years' time. He is young. It's not what I would have done. I'm not 100% against it. I think it's totally okay. It makes sense. I would have done something different, but I definitely think that it's a better pick than Orlando picking Jett Howard at number 11. I would have taken Dick over Howard. No problem. I just would have taken other guys ahead of him. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Dick, Hawkins, Howard, Sensabaugh, Whitehead quintet works out. Because I have different orders to the way they were drafted, and we'll see how they all work as shooters. Not a bad pick for the Raptors. Could have done better, I think, but makes sense. For a two-way, they grabbed Marcus Noel from Kansas State. If he was 6 inches taller, probably would have gone in first round, maybe. But he's like 5. Is he 5'6"? Or is he 5'8"? He's tiny. We know what he was able to do for Kansas State. He is really, really, and this is the opposite of Operation 6'9", which the Raptors have been going for. This is the shortest guy in the NBA, Marquise Noel now. Is it Marquise or Marcus? I think it's Marquise. Marquise Noel. He's the shortest guy in the NBA. I had him 89th. I think he's just too small to have any sort of impact. There's tons of talent. It's all there, but I just think he's too small. Even at 5'11", I would say you got a little bit more of hope, but he's not 5'11". He's just not. He's tiny, and that's going to impact readouts, but not a bad pick. And that will do it for me today. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. And if you are here on YouTube, thumb it up and leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.